All right, guys. So we move on to diluted earnings per share, DEPS. All right. Now, what you need to know is that the equity share capital of a company might increase in future. Yeah, might increase in future due to circumstances that may exist now. So an action now or a circumstance that exists now can actually increase the future equity share capital. All right, so that is what brings about this dilution. Now, because when this occurs, this increase in share will reduce or dilute the earnings per share. So what we mean is that, so the key thing about dilution is like you are reducing the basic earnings per share that we've done, all right? Whether it's full market, whether there is a bonus issue, whether there is a right issue. Anytime a circumstance exists that may change the future equity share capital, then we are talking about that. Now, the whole idea is simple. If you have 1,000 Ghana and your denominator here is 4, and you realize that the division gives you 250 cedis. But if you have taken a decision today of which the circumstance today will affect you in future, to the extent that your shares will now increase. So you have, let's say, 1,000 now, but your denominator is 5. Then you see that it reduces to 200. And that is what we are talking about. When there is an increase in shares, it will reduce or dilute your basic earnings per share. Okay. So here really we are talking about where the shareholders or the EPS figure attempt to alert shareholders to their potential impact on their EPS of additional shares coming in. Okay. Now, how does this thing happen? There are, two basic ways it happens. Causing your shares to increase to dilute your EPS. Now, what happens is that number one, you may have convertible loans. All right. So a decision is taken today as to this convertible. Now, in future, what this can happen is that instead of it being a loan, they can now convert it to equity share. Now, when they convert it to equity share, they will have to receive some number of ordinary shares, and that one will increase the number of ordinary shares that you already have. All right. And when it increases like that, then it is going to affect your original EPS and thereby reducing the EPS of each share. So, the earnings is there. We are increasing our base. And once we increase our base, then it means that definitely we are going to share the earnings to some people that did not exist before. But it is a decision taken now because you issued a convertible loan. And so in the future, the consequence of them converting it into ordinary share can affect or can reduce your basic EPS. So that is what we are talking about. Okay. Number two, we are talking about options. We are talking about options. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. When the exercise price of the option and the subscription price for warrants are exercised, which are to be exercised in future, are then exercised, then it means that it is going to affect your basic EPS. Okay. Now let's deal with the formulas and how to go with the computations, and we see how to fix in the numbers. It's so simple. So simple. All right. So here, what is going to happen is that, remember we had, on the hindsight, we had EPS being equal to our earnings. And when I say earnings, I'm talking about earnings available to ordinary share. That is the one after tax and ordinary share, preference share dividend. Okay. And we had our number of shares. And when I say number of shares, I'm talking about weighted average number of shares. We've gone through how to deal with all these things. Okay. All right. So what is going to happen is that if we are not going to experience some dilution, then it means that we have to adjust our basic earnings. Okay, so this one will have to be adjusted. And the number of shares will also have. Okay. With convertibles, we are going to assume that if they are to convert to equity share on the first day of the accounting period, or let's say on the date of the issue. All right. So that is what is going to happen. So we say that to deal with these potential ordinary shares, we have to adjust our earnings, of course, and the number of shares, assuming convertible options have to convert to equity on the first day of the accounting period or on the date of issue. All right. Well, if later. Okay, so that is what we are trying to talk about. And therefore, we need to adjust these two elements that you already know. So what will happen is that with our earnings, we need to add notional extra earnings, because what they are bringing in is a capital and should be able to improve our earnings. So notionally, in our minds, we need to assume what extra earnings that will come in. All right. And also our number of shares here, you need to also add any notional extra shares. All right. That is on the basis that they are going to convert and they are going to exercise their options. Okay, so that is how we go with this. Now, so in this concept, we are actually going to look at the convertibles and the options. Okay, the convertibles and the options. Convertibles and the options. So it's that simple. Let's take the convertible ones. I'm sure you've made these convertibles in financial instruments. So the principle of the convertibles and maybe convertible preference are similar. Okay, and we deal with them together. Okay, so we say that if the convertible bonds or preference share have been converted, then three things is going to happen. If converted, the first thing that is going to happen is that if it is a convertible bond, you know that the interest, and if it is a preference share, then the dividend, all right, the dividend would be saved before, there would be earnings go higher, all right. So we say that this one will be saved. Okay, you get, some interest savings, which we will later adjust for tax. Okay, and so therefore, when this thing happens, then earnings will be higher. Would be higher. What we are trying to mean is that if they convert it, we will no longer be paying the interest. Are you getting it? If you have, we are talking about this instrument being converted to equity, okay? To equity. So what we are trying to say is that if they convert it, then we will no longer be paying the interest. Okay? If they convert their preference share, then we will no longer be paying dividends as an obligation because they receive a fixed percentage of dividends every year. Okay? And when they come to equity, ordinary shares, I mean, that one is dependent. Okay? So it is not like they have to be receiving the dividends by force every year. All right. So it moves from obligation and they now join rights. All right. The company now, this preference share comes into rights. All right. Because they will now have access to voting as it were before. They didn't have. All right. So if they convert it, you will no longer be paying that dividend. You will no longer be paying that interest. And therefore, it means that our earnings will go up. That is what we mean by these notional earnings. All right, that is what we mean. Okay, now what is going to happen is that these additional earnings that you see here will also be subject to tax. Remember, they are notional earnings that are coming in, and therefore they have to be taxed. All right, so that is it. Every earning is taxed. Additional earnings would be subjected to tax. So what we will be looking for here is what? Post-tax earnings. What we'll be looking for is post-tax earnings. All right. Now, if they come in as that, then it means that our number of shares, because they've converted it to equity, our number of equity shares would also increase. All right, so these are what happens when there is a converted. So assume converted, we will get interest. We will no longer be paying those interest on the loan if they convert to ordinary. And therefore that thing in itself is giving us additional income, all right, or additional earnings. And these additional earnings would be subjected to tax. Because if you remove those interests from your P&L, what is going to happen is that your profit that was there before increases, and therefore your tax also increases. All right, so that is how it happens. Okay. So basically, what you're going to do is that you will have to do your adjustment on your earnings, and you have to introduce in the number of ordinary shares that has come in. Okay, so we will look at the figures and try to solve examples as such. So it's as simple as this. Adjust your earnings with the notional post-tax earnings, okay? Then go ahead to add a new number of shares that have been issued. Then you are good to go. You just fix it in and you are good to go. So what we're going to do now is to take some examples and deal with. We've dealt with all these aspects of our basic earnings per share. So quickly, we need to move on to dilution. All right. So like I said, you have to adjust your basic earnings, and the earnings calculated for the basic EPS, which you all know based on the continuing operations, will be adjusted for post-tax. All right. And please, it includes deferred tax. All right. It includes deferred tax. And any dividend on dilutive potential ordinary shares will be deducted in arriving at our basic earnings per share. So so that is what we are talking about. The dividend, if it is a preference share, all right, the conversion is a preference share to equity, and any interest when it is a convertible debt. All right, so that is how. We will also need to, number two, as stated earlier, adjust our weighted average number of ordinary shares. For convertibles, all we need to do is to add the maximum number of shares, the maximum, and that's the key. It's a very important note you should have here, a maximum number of ordinary shares. So assuming that there are plenty convertible options at different dates, then what is going to be used is when they will have more shares. They will only convert when it will give them more shares. Because if you give them more shares, then it means that they are going to earn more each per share. Okay, so if you are given plenty options of number of shares with a different date, know that the rational investor will convert when it gives him higher number. So know that. So I mean, as for this formula, we've seen it and we are good to go. Okay, so let's take some figures and try to see how the computation is dealt with. All right. So you see here in this illustration 6, yesterday my guys did well. We gave it to now. Yeah, so it's so sad that we are both on 15 points, but they have to be on top. It's good because in the year that we win Champions League, we lost final against Real Madrid and later won in the next season. This same thing happened. We had to go through Napoli. And I'm so sure that we will encounter FC Porto in the next stage. I'm so sure of that. Once it happens, don't say I prophesied, say I knew it. And we will be winning the Champions League, regardless of our situation in the Premier League. So we win the Champions League and we will qualify for the next Champions League. Trust us, when club tells you we will be back. All right, so let's look at this. My God played very well. Thiago Alcantara in 2017 had basic earnings per share of 1.05. Based on the earnings, 105,000 and ordinary share of 100,000 Ghana cedi. It also had an issue, and this is where it comes from, the convertibles. 40,000 15% convertible loans, in which is converted in 2 years' time, all right, at the rate of 4 ordinary shares for every 5 Ghana cedi of stock, all right, and you have your rate of tax, all right. So that is what happens. So remember, what we need to do is first adjust our earnings, all right. When we adjust our earnings, we also adjust the number of ordinary shares that we have. But remember, when you are adjusting your earnings, you are talking about post-tax adjustment, okay? So the new earnings that will be coming in, you need to adjust it with tax and add it to the basic earnings that existed before. What we said was that diluted EPS is equal to what? Earnings, and this is the earnings that you use to calculate your basic earnings, your basic earnings plus what? Notional, the one that will be derived when it is converted, all right, when the convertibles are converted. Notional extra earnings, and like I said, is what? Post-tax, all right, it's post-tax. It's post-tax. If remember, if there is any preference share dividend and those things, when we were doing this earnings, we deduct from it, all right? So the same thing, we also look at after tax, the same thing we are trying to look at here. So here too, we have our weighted number of ordinary shares, weighted average number of ordinary shares, and we bring in the new number or the notional extra shares if they convert. Now we will want to know the impact now if they want to convert in 2 years' time. What we're going to do is that let's first adjust our earnings here. Okay, so we're going to adjust that notional earnings. So the notional earnings, they tell us what we are being told is that we already have 105. And they said that if it also had an issue, 40,000, 15%. So the notional one that is coming in herein is the interest that we will no longer be paying. All right, and that is the notional earning, the interest that we will no longer be paying. And what is the interest? It was 15% convertible on this nominal. So we have 15% multiplied by what? 40,000. And that is going to give us what? 6,000, right? That is going to give us 6,000. Now this 6,000, remember we are looking at what? The post-tax, all right? Post-tax. So if we look at post-tax, then it means that it is what? 1 minus T. 1 minus T, okay? 1 representing 100%, okay? And T representing the tax rate. So we can go on and say 6,000 into brackets 100% minus, where is the tax? 30%. Or you can say 1 minus 0.3, all right? 1 minus 0.3, 30% is 0.3. And that should give us our notional what? Earnings that we are coming to add in. So we have 6,000 multiplied by, so this one will give us 0.7. So we have what? 4,200. Now, when we have this, we can now see our total earnings. We already had 105 from the initial one. So what is going to happen here is that we're going to calculate our, we have what? 105,000, which we had before, plus the post-tax extra, notional extra, which is going to give us what? 4,200. Now this one will now end us with how much? It is going to give us 109,200. All right, so that is what it's going to give us. Now we need to now go on and also determine the number of ordinary shares that are coming. Now listen, and always take care to read these things very well. They said that they will get 4 ordinary shares for every 5 of the stock. Now, if I had, how much did I have for the stock? Is 40,000. All right, so we are doing our notional extra shares. So they said that for every 40,000, so that is what they said, for every 5 CD of the stock, and this is the stock. So for every 5 CD inside this stock, we are going to get 4 shares. All right, so that is how it is giving us. So you go in here, you can see that you have 8, and 8 multiplied by 8,000 multiplied by 4 now gives us how much? 32,000 shares. All right, so that is what gives us. So how many number of shares did we have before having this? We already had 100,000 ordinary share at 1 Ghana cedi, and we are having now 32 in addition. Okay, so we had what? 100,000 plus 32,000. All right, so what we get now is 132,000. Now we've gotten our elements inside the formulas. We just now need to calculate and get our final answer. So you have 109,200, all right, divided by 132,000. And that one gives me here 82 pesos, or 0.82 Ghana cedis per share. You can also say 82 pesos. So that is how you go through it. It's nothing difficult. You just need to put down your formula and fix in your answers. It's as simple as that. All right. Just know that the extra earnings will be adjusted for tax, okay? And you always have to go through this exchange to get your diluted earnings. All right. So anytime you see dilution, it's that simple. You have to go through and understand that the interest or the dividend that is now saved and not paid will increase and this increase is what we refer to as what? The notional. All right, have it in your mind. There will be an increase notional. And don't forget this notional, everything we are doing is after tax because dividends are paid after tax, earnings per share are after tax. So that notional earnings that is coming in via the saved interest, via the saved dividend that would have been paid other than the conversion will also suffer tax. Then you get your number of ordinary shares if they convert. All right. So you go through the exchange procedure and you have it. You just slot it in your figures and there you go. All right. So now let's take another example so that we get used to it. We get used to it. So we're looking at Suarez, Luis Suarez, that is, he passed to the Liverpool jersey. So I really love the guy. All right, so Suarez company has 5 million ordinary shares. We have 5 million ordinary shares. 5 million ordinary shares at 25 cents. Okay, here in pesos each in issue. Okay, and also had in issue in 2014, they have 100,000 Ghana cedi, 14% convertible, and at a rate of what? 2 shares per 10 Ghana cedi stock. They also have here 2 million, 10% convertible loan stock. Okay, and this one too is convertible in 1 year, and whichever that at that time will give, if they convert, will give them 3. All right. So what we need to go through and do is that which one of these, when we did our first example, you realize that which one of these will reduce. So you found here, so the computation there, the last stage we didn't do is that when you find this one, that is your diluted earnings per share. Then you determine your dilution, all right? So the dilution of the earnings, this is what was there before. And if you multiply it into it, you see that your earnings per share has moved from 1 cedi 5 pesos, and it will now be what? 0.87, all right, Ghana cedis. So what it means is that when the new people come in, what is going to happen is that those that were receiving 1 Ghana cedi, because of the dilution, is going to be receiving 87. It's going to reduce. You remember the 1,000 I did over 4 and over 5? That is what is going to happen. Okay. So remember, I also told you that you will check which one will dilute your number of shares. So here, when you are giving these options as such, we all know that they will go for higher, the ones that give them higher number of shares. We don't know that here. We need to go and calculate it. So we said that he has 5 million before, and it was priced at 25 pesos or cents, all right? And these are the convertibles, okay? And this is the total earnings. What is the requirement of this question? You are required to calculate basic EPS and what? And diluted EPS. All right. So we will calculate basic EPS when there is no dilution. All right. So let's go on and calculate our basic EPS. So basic EPS, All right, what is going to happen is that we have our earnings, and when I say earnings, it's earnings available to ordinary shares by what? Weighted average number of ordinary shares, all right, for the period. So this is the ordinary shares that they had, okay? That is the ordinary shares that they had in 2014. This is the price in 2014. We've been told that in 2014, earnings was this. So what you need to go through and do is just to slot in your earnings and your number of ordinary shares. Now, when we do that, what are we having? So we have 75. So what I have here is 0.35 cedis per share. That is my basic per share. But they have these convertibles there. We want to see which one will dilute this one, our basic earnings per share. So you see from this one, they said that it's 1,014%. What we have in 3 years' time, 2 shares per 10 Ghana cedis stock. So it is 1 million. And per every 10 Ghana cedi inside is 1 million. Remember this. So it will cancel off. And that one is going to give us 2 shares. So if you cancel off 10, what is the number of shares that we're going to have? I think we're going to have 200,000. Okay. So that is that. If you want to know the earnings that this one will bring in, remember it's 14%. So we do 14% of the 1 million stock. Post-tax, 1 minus T. Tax is 35. So I think we will have here 0.65 post-tax. And how much will that one give us? We have 14% to 1 million. And that will also give us 91,000. Okay. Here in same, we want to see which one will dilute our basic EPS. All right. So we have 2 million. And they told us that for every 5 cedi, we'll get 3 number of shares. So 5 cedi out of this, remember it goes up, we are getting 3 shares. All right. Which one will definitely increase or dilute or reduce our basic EPS? The one that the share, the base is going to increase. Okay. So if we go through and do, okay, we have 4. So I mean that one will give us what? 400,000. Oh, sorry, times 3. All right. So it's 400,000 times 3, which is going to give me, I have here, this one is going to give me 1.2. All right, shares. In terms of the earnings, it is 10% on 2 million, which is going to give me 200,000. And post-tax, post-tax, looking at here, so 2 million, or 200,000, sorry, multiplied by post-tax, which is going to give me 130,000. Yeah. So notionally, if you are to concentrate even on these notional ones, you see that you have what in this one, what you're going to get is 91,000 all over what 200. And here, if you want to see your dilution, you are going to get how much? 130,000 all over 1.2 number of shares. Don't forget this one is in CDs. This one is shares. CDs, shares. So if you are going to do, let's do this last one here first. So if you're going to do, what you get is what? I get 0.108. So if you round it up, you are going to get 11 pesos per share. If you do same for 91 and 200,000 over there, you're going to get what? 0.46. 0.46. Obviously, you see that one of them is going to dilute your basic EPS here. It's going to bring it further down. Which one is going to bring it further down? Is it this one or this one? I believe it's this one. Okay. Because if you do for this one, you get 0.16. Is that it? Then if you do for this one, you going to get further something. So the one that would dilute your shares, the timing of their convertible should be this one. Obviously, the base is far higher. All right. So if you now know the one that is going to affect your dilution, you can now pick it up. All right. And since we've done this already, you can even straight away. So what you're going to do is that your debts is going to be what? The earnings that you had before. And if B is the one that is going to more dilute our shares, the earnings for that one was what? 130. The post-tax earnings was 130. You go in, your number of ordinary shares that was there before was 5 million. The new number of ordinary shares was 1.2. Now you can go on, so you have 1750 and you bring in 130. That one gives you 1880. Then if you have 5 million, so you have 6.2. Okay, so you have 1880. Now you go through it 6.2, and that is going to give you what? 0.30. So you see it has reduced your 35 to 30. If you go through this one, you see that the difference, it won't give you something reducing space. If you want to try and see if it is right or wrong, just go ahead and do 91,000. You're going to add it to 1750. 1750. If you try, you're going to get that one. With this one, what you'll be getting is 1841. If you go ahead and do with you have 5.2. Okay, but don't go through and do all this because we want dilution, and whichever one that will reduce it the more. All right. So if you just want to be convinced, that one will still give you 0.35. It didn't change anything. So the one that will dilute it is this one. All right. You now need to go through and do your final step. You check the dilution, 0.35 multiplied by this. What are you going to get? What are you going to get? So you have 0.35 to go through multiplied by what you're going to get is what? 0.105. So something that is 0.35, you are like 0.1 0.11. So you have 0. So you see it has diluted. So that is what you need to go through. In case you are given plenty convertibles, which one that will actually dilute is the one you have to go through and do a kind of EPS on the notionals, all right? Okay, so which one that would dilute it, you see it from here. All right, so that is that. Okay. So thank you. Maybe we can pick another example before we go to the offsheets. Because there is another type of example where they will give you plenty. They'll actually give you different convertibles with each share. So what I mean is each shares at different times. You need to pick the one that you have the highest. So for example, if in different times, they say, let's say you have year one, let's say you have a conversion, how do I phrase it? Maybe you have what, 100,000, the same loan of the loan, and when you convert it, you have 124 shares. The same loan in year two, all right, if you convert it, you have like 120 shares. In year three, at the same price, all right, you convert, you have, let's say, 115. Okay, when do you think the rational investor will convert? It is only when he will get the plenty shares, because if the earnings per share will multiply by the number of ordinary shares he will have, he will expand his earnings. So when it is actually plenty for him, that is when he will convert. Okay, so let's look at those type of questions. By that, it means that you've seen all angles, all right? You've seen all angles. Yeah, so typical example. So there is a note here for you. They said that in calculating debt, debt should always be based on the maximum number of shares that can be issued, all right? So for instance, as seen here, you have a 14% loan stock following the conversion, right? You see, in 2015, the person will get 4 shares for the same 10 CD price, 16, 3 shares, 10 CDs, 17, 2 shares. Which one will you convert? That will be based on this one, because you will get the plenty number of shares. That is what I'm trying to do. All right, so that is that. So you have an example here with some other relevant information. So what you need to do, so look at the question well. So you have on April 1, the entity issued convertible loans for 1.250. The loan stock carries effective rate of 8%. So that is your rate. 100% nominal on the loan stock, convertible in 2016 to 2019 into ordinary shares. All right. So you need to go through which one, at what point will it be converted? I mean, the one that will give you the height. So you don't need to waste time. You know that this is the one that we are taking. All right. Now, they said that up to 2016, the maximum number of shares issuable after the end of the financial period will be at the rate of, you don't need to be told, okay? You don't need to be told. Because this is an illustration, but you don't need to be told. That is the one that they will always go for. So that one will be stated at 124 shares per 100 nominal, and the price is here, right? In which is you need not to be told, okay? So you can actually go on and have these things done, right? So they had 4 million shares already in issue, okay? So I think that is what they had, okay? And this one is what they went through to calculate their basic EPS rate. So if you now have this and you now have this, your notional number of shares, which is this, when you put them together, this is what you have. So that is it. Okay. In depth calculation, always assume the maximum. So this question is actually to explain it to you. Okay. It's actually to explain it to you. Of course, it's an illustration. And you have 500 cumulative irredeemable. It's irredeemable, all right? And you have 1 million ordinary shares. Okay. Also here, you have your tax rate. You have your tax rate also here. So what you see is that you see what has been done for you. If you have 1 million ordinary shares at 25 pesos, here what you see is this 4 million. All right, that is the 4 million that you have. Okay, because you need to go through and divide 1 million over 0.25 to get your total. It's that simple. There is nothing. This question is just to show you. So if you have this information there, if you are to calculate basic EPS, you know what to do. You take your profit after tax. Okay, take your profit after tax. So that is what you see here. You go through, you take your profit after tax, and you less preference share dividend. Okay, since there is irredeemable, you less their percentage out of it. Okay, so it's that simple. Irredeemable is, let me clear the board and use and illustrate it for you for your understanding. Remember, we said that if you want your earnings is what? Profit after tax and what? Preference shareholders. So this, what you see here is cumulative irredeemable preferences. So their dividend is 10% on this. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you will take your profit after tax, this one, and it's after tax. All you need to do is to take off this 10%, right, of 500,000. You need to take it off 50,000. You need to take it off, which will land you somewhere what 650,000. The same thing here. The same thing here. You take your profit after tax and you less your irredeemable dividend. Okay, so you are somewhere what 59177. That is it. And based on your 4 million shares, you can divide 4 million. And that one will give you your basic EPS. So it's as simple as that. And once you have your basic EPS, you go on to do your debts. You go on to do your debts. So that is what you see here. I mean, if you take it off, based on the 4 million, these are what you get. You want to now go and calculate your debts. You saw what we did here. The earnings is there. The notional one, these are your earnings existing already. The notional one that you are bringing in is coming from the interest. Remember, the interest on the convertible. Okay, but key is that you always have to check the time of the issue, all right? You always have to check the time of the issue. If they told you you are doing something in the year perspective, look at this. So our requirement here is 31st December, all right? And the issue was done on what? 1st. So 1st to December is 9 months, all right? So you need to take note of that. So what you're going to get here is your additional income that came via the interest. Do you remember the interest? Do you remember the interest? So it said that interest. So these are your interest. That has been calculated for you already, interest. Now, since you have the interest, you need to adjust it with tax. And that is what you see, it's adjusted with tax. So if you get this, you now add to this, you find this, all right? And you know your new number of ordinary shares. So what you're going to do is this, it's 4 million, and it was issued in April. So you have to prorate it, okay? So that is one, and it gives you this. So if you now get your new number of ordinary shares, you divide it with this. So this is your new number of ordinary shares. So once you have this, you go through divide with this, and these are what you have. So it's as simple as that. As simple as that. In the same way of question 2, the same thing happens here. You ask yourself, at what point would they go for the issue? All right, which one will give them the highest number of ordinary shares? Which one will give them? You have 91 Ghana cedi, so nominal, that is what you have. You also have 85, so that is what you have. You also have 80. Which one will you actually go for in terms of your conversion? Which of these loans will you go for? So if you check from the top, the company has 8.28 million as start, and you have this as at December 31st. You have 2.3 million convertibles. All right, you have to go through that, and you see that if you want to go through, they're giving you these stocks, and the effective rate, the loan stocks effective rate is 10%, then you have your tax. The earnings has been given to you. All right, so you will first need to go through and work on your notional. Okay, let's just go through this. All right. So what are our requirements? Very, very important to always. So you are supposed to calculate the diluted earnings. So you see that already our earnings has been given us as this. So we have our basic earnings as 2208. On the notional, how much is our notional? How much is our notional? They said that during the year ended 2014, but on that date, they had an issue this, okay, loan note. And the loan note carries what? 10%. Remember, the notional, we are looking at the interest, the tax savings on the interest. So what we need to go through and do is do the 10% of this 2.3. And it is post-tax. Our tax rate is 30%. We need to multiply it. And I think that ends up with what? 161,000. If we go through, it gives us what? 2,369,000. So we have our earnings already given us. Okay, so that is what we have. Which one of these will we go through to select? Which one will gives us the higher number of shares? Obviously, is this. We have 90, 85, 80. That is the one that will give us the highest. This is the highest. It's 90 shares for 1 Ghana cedi. So that is what we have. Okay, so if we pick that, and go through with how to find our weighted average number of ordinary shares. Already, we have shares existing of how much they had 8.2 million, 8.28 million. And our notional number of ordinary shares is that for every 100 CD nominal, we are having what additional 90 shares. So what we need to go through and do is that this is the value of the loan stock. Where are you? Loan stock. Here you are. Value. So 100 nominal value of loan stock would say will mean 2.300 and the maximum. It's as simple. These things are just as simple as that. We now need to go through. Once we go through this, how much are we getting? We have 0.2070. All right. So when we add, we had 10, 350. We now need to go through with our division and do 2.369 thousand all over 10.350 thousand. And that gives me what? 0.229, or that's 0.23. So it's per share. All right. That is that. So it's as simple. These things are as simple as that. Okay, they are just simple. You just need to go through, pick the one that will give you the highest. I mean, that is that. All right. If you want to go through and do all of them, you can do for all the options. Okay, you can do for all the options. I mean, all these options you can do, but I mean, the rational person will go for that. All right, I think we can now go to the warrants and the options. Okay. All right, now this option we are talking about. Option here gives the holder the right, the holder of the option, the right to actually buy shares. All right, at some point in the future at a predetermined price. Okay, so I mean, cash is received by entity at the time the option is exercised, and the DPS is also counted. All right. So we need to go through and find the number of options. Okay. So what will happen is that our total number of shares issued on the option will have to be split into two. Okay. It will have to be split into two. So herein, now what we are saying is that the number of shares that would have been issued if cash had been received, all right, or if cash has been used to buy the shares at fair value. Okay, so we need to find that. That is what will happen. The remainder are the ones which are treated as bonus issue. Okay, if you were to receive cash, okay, I mean, after issuing the shares, if you were to receive cash for it, how much would it have been? Okay, so the difference between what the number of shares that have been issued if cash had been received, all right, to buy it at fair value, and the original conception of pricing is actually your bonus issue. So the option has in it a bonus issue kind of situation, all right. We need to now find in the number of options that exist inside that so that we can actually see the bonus issue out. Okay, so I mean, this one is that simple. All you need to do is to find the number of options. The rest is actually bonus issue. And the number of options is actually given in a simple formula that you have. Yeah, so at fair value, what you get is that the number of options is going to be your fair value. So you find that number of options of shares, sorry. So you find the number of options of shares and you divide it by the fair value minus the exercise price all over your fair value. Okay, so that is how you determine the number of shares issued for no consideration. Okay, that is the bonus part that we are talking. It's issued for no consideration. All right, it's issued for no consideration. So the DPS here that we are trying to look for with the number of shares is what? With an option that can be used to work, you need to find your number of options, all right? Then you go through and multiply by your fair value less option price, less exercise price all over your fair value. Again, all right, so that is what you need to go through. And now if you check this thing in your notes, so this is what I'm talking about. So there is a split of two, the number of shares that would have been received if cash had been used to buy it, all right, not options. If cash has been used to buy it, I mean, we are talking about the fair value, all right, okay. If cash has been used to buy, the remainder of it is treated as a bonus. So it's split into two, okay. So if cash has been used to buy it, what would it have been? To find that one. The price of that and the existing price is what we are talking about. So the formula here is that if you want your bonus share or your number of shares, what you're going to do is to use your number of options, which will always be given to you. Then you have your fair value, which will be given to you, exercise price, which will be given to you. So it's as simple as this. Okay. If you check this illustration, all you need to see, you see Benzema had the following. So you have your net profit, weighted average number of weighted average number of ordinary shares outstanding during. You remember that this is what you use to calculate your basic EPS. You have 500,000. Average fair value, so this is it. It's always given to you. It's what 20. Weighted average number of shares under the option is what 100,000. So that is what in your formula you see it, and the exercise price is what has been given to you for this. So this one, all you need to do is that you know your number of shares already. So all you need to go through and do is that Fine. First step, you want to calculate the basic. I mean, it's that simple. There's no struggle. It's that simple. So you check the story. I mean, net profit is this, and you have this. You shouldn't struggle in calculating this at all. Basic EPS. You have your two elements. Okay. So the number of shares here, if you are working on the dilution on the number of shares, what is going to happen is that we can just use what option, number of option shares multiplied by what? Fair value less what? Exercise price all over fair value. Is that okay? So what we need to do is that we just go through here. I mean, cash has been received for the other end, okay? So what you need to go through here is plotting your 100,000. Okay? What is the fair value? Is the fair value. You have 20 minus 15 excise price all over 20. Okay. So what we need to find here is just go through and do 20. So 20 minus 15 gives us 5 over 20. We have 0.25. Multiply by 100,000. You have what? 25. So this is 25. Your bonus is 25. That's it. Now, once you have your bonus number of shares, you can go through and deal with the rest as seen here. Okay, you have 25. You see, like if you want to go it the other way around, so you had 1.2, you have your weighted. So your basic EPS is this. That is what you have. Okay, that is what you have. Now you see that you had 25 bonus. When you add it, your 25 bonus, this one, your, so where's my, you have your 25 bonus. It changes your weighted average number of ordinary share, but you already have your earnings per share, which is this. So if you add this 25 to the exit, so if you add here 25,000, you have 525,000. All you need to do is to now go through and do your dilution over 125. All right, and that is what you have. So that is that. It's actually 2.285. If you round it, you have 2.29 because you are dealing with currency, all right, per share. So that is all. So all you need to do is to find what. So the earnings have not been increased as the total number of ordinary shares have increased by the number of this. All right. So that is all. You need to just find your bonus aspect. You add it to your what? Your weighted average of number of ordinary shares that existed before the option were to be exercised, and you are good to go. Let's solve one question to close this class, right? So you see that at the end, something that was 2.4, you see, comes to 2.29, diluted, has come down. Whatever will make your share reduce is what we call that. There is another illustration here for you. Okay, let's just go through them. In January 2017, a company had 4 million. So they had 4 million ordinary shares in issue. and issue a further option for an issue for a further million. Okay, a further million. So that is 1 million. Our profit was this. Okay, during the year 2017, the average fair value of one ordinary share was what? 3 cedis. The exercise price is what? 2 cedis. All right. So you don't need much information in this. What you need to go through is that they say we should calculate basic EPS and then. So basic will be what? They had profit of 500,000 all over 4 million. That one is simple. So you have 1.25. 125. Okay, so 5. What? All right, so that is that. Can actually round it to 1. Okay. The options, well, we need to find the bonus fact components. We just add it up. Okay, so our earnings will not change under options. Okay, so what we need to go through here is that we have a further million. That is what we have. They said that a further million. So we have what? 1 million. That is our option. Multiplied by what is our fair value? Our fair value was 3. Exercise price is 2 all over 3. So what we need to do is to, I think you have 1 over 3, and you are multiplying it by 1 million. So what I have here is what? 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.3, like that. So that is what we have. Now what you need to go through and do is to add up this figure to your denominator. I mean, that's all. So if you have 500,000, so you actually, your debts, you have 500,000, and you have the combination of this and this. So I think that one 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. When you go through, what's the final answer? So I have 500,000 over this, and that gives me what? 0.115 or 0.12 if I round it per share. All right, so that is that. It's as simple as that. So that concludes our class on earnings per share. Okay. It's easy peasy. Get your formula, determine the bonus of scale, add it to your earnings will not change, just increase your shares. All right, to bring about the dilution. So there are so many questions. So this question will actually probably have convertible and at the same time options. So that is that. You have more examples, for the theory, just go through and read all the theory for some marks that will come. All right. The importance. So get it, read it, work more examples, and you are good to go. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.